Hello, Misfits, and welcome back. If you are new here, welcome, welcome. Grab a seat, get some tea, and enjoy the vibes. You see the title of this video and you see the thumbnail, so you know today we will be doing a reading on the U.S. debt ceiling crisis. We're going back and forth now with a lot of the Republicans and the Democrats are going back and forth on whether or not to raise the debt ceiling or whether they should let it crash because they're trying to barter on basically the Republicans are trying to use it as a bartering tool right now to, get what they want, pretty much to line their pockets, if you ask me personally. And then the Democrats are just wanting to raise the debt ceiling for their own purposes as well. It's really a lose-lose situation either way, whichever team wins. But I would say right now, I think the Republicans, correct me if I'm wrong, are trying to. I haven't been really reading up on all of it, and I probably should be more informed about it, but it just kind of gives me anxiety. I think the Republicans are pretty much using it because they are trying to push through. It's probably something with like gun reform and not putting on pushing anything through that's gonna be any proposals that'll restrict businesses in a way, because that is how a lot of them get their funding for their political campaigns. Whereas the Democrats, I know in previous years, I don't know if they're still negotiating it this year, but I know in previous years they're trying to use it to push through things like canceling student loan debt and green infrastructure bill. They were doing something with the overhaul of infrastructure. They were trying to do something with universal health care. And so right now it's always used as a bargaining chip. Whoever is the, people who need to kind of come to the table on, okay, well, we'll agree on raising the U.S., debt if and only if we can get X, Y, and Z. And so right now the both parties, because in America, unfortunately, we have a two-party system. You either Democrat or Republican, and they're kind of just at the table squabbling right now, like children, going back and forth. And it's putting a lot of people in harm's way because, of course, if the U.S. debt isn't increased, it pretty much puts us at a disadvantage. People's like government funded things will kind of fall through, and that includes things like public schools, public transportation, public workers, our U.S. postal system, which is already in bad shape as it is. You have things like banks could potentially kind of go into fall here, which would lead to further U.S. banking crises. You have things like what else? Oh, people who are typically on Medicare, Medicaid, people who get paid. What is that? I think it's like SSI, Social Security, all of that could be affected. And so it's really important that this US debt ceiling is increased. It hasn't in previous years gone into default. I know there's been a couple of extensions that has happened in years prior, but this year doesn't look like this really happening because there is so much contention between the Democratic and Republican Party. And so it's good to know, especially with it cutting this close, on whether or not the U.S. debt ceiling is going to be increased or not, especially after all of this stuff where we're coming out of a global health scare and, you know, countries around the world are dealing with kind of like the rubber band effects of our economies kind of like crashing and burning, or kind of going through this whiplash effects because of that and trying to make up for it. So I just kind of wanted to do a reading on that today and see what's gonna come of it. So without further ado, I do have to say a disclaimer. Just I have it at the bottom of my videos saying that this is only for entertainment purposes only. This video, if you haven't seen it already, if you haven't realized, I do tarot cards. If you have something against divination, spiritual practices, whatnot, click off. I don't want to agitate your spirit anymore. Here's your moment to click off. With that being said, know that this video is for entertainment purposes only. That means all statements are alleged, hearsay, and or opinion, not facts. Nothing is set in stone for my readings as they are intuition based. This means I read from the current energies, and anything and everything can change. Time is subjective, however, so maybe it'll be, I may pick up something that could have happened in the past or something that happened in the future. Again, because these are intuition based readings, sometimes that means I'm picking up on things that may have like carry the same energy. So just keep that in mind. So now with all those disclaimers out of the way, let's get into this reading. So far, I'm getting a lot of reversals here. So this is what I'm getting for McCarthy's energy. This is what I'm getting for Biden's energy. I probably will go even further and look at the parties themselves. But for right now, I wanted to start off with those two since those are the ones that's kind of like coming to the table and negotiating everything. Or at least the two figureheads that's coming to the table to discuss. So yeah, they're definitely not seeing eye to eye, but they're trying to create some kind of opportunity out of this for their own, I don't want to say benefit, but maybe to their party's benefit here because we have the magician. The magician comes after the fool, but it comes before the high priestess. And so for me, this is, this is after I've taken the leap, I've taken this step forward, I've gone on this adventure, whether it's with single-mindedness or just, believing in faith or not. But then it's also going into the high priestess of like trusting yourself and knowing your intuition. You're starting to create those, you're starting to pick and choose the tools that you need in order to continue this fight. And so therefore you have the magician here that's kind of like, okay, I'm tapping into my power, even though I may not know everything. A lot of this is going to be based off of intuition and what feels right, what's calling to me. We also do have the Two of Wands here in reverse. And usually when I see the Two of Wands, it usually speaks to kind of like um a passionate step forward, but in this case is you're not trusting to work with the other party. You're kind of used to working by yourself. You feel like you can create better on your own. And so this is pretty interesting that this is the energy between the two. And I feel like it does encapsulate the energies between the Republican and Democratic Party. Now, again, we do have McCarthy here with the Six of Swords. And the story behind this is that you're somebody who is kind of like been drawn in, you're somebody who's been portrayed, you've been beaten and you're cornered, and now you're trying to find an escape. And in doing so, you're doing underhanded means, even if it's at the sacrifice of your own men or morality, I guess you can kind of say. And you're, trying to escape and go into doing things that you need to. But with this being in reverse, it kind of pulls out a lot of those negative energies. You forget this is also just before getting into the Seven of Swords, where you're getting into, this is getting in before you kind of get into that Seven of Swords energy where you're getting into the underhandedness. They've already kind of resorted to the underhanded tactics. And so now that that is no longer an option on the table, it kind of feels like conniving. How can I lure you and make you think that you have the upper hand or that you're winning and end up coming out on top? It feels like a chess move, essentially. And so then we also see here, we have the Queen of Swords. And then we also see here we have the Queen of Swords in reverse as well. And so that's also pretty interesting on Biden's behalf that he's coming up with the Queen of Swords energy, where it's more of like that internal strength, that internal kind of more of like the mental aspect of like not quite making a move and ready to move and act on behalf of others instead of for oneself. And I think that's pretty noble because I would think this would be the energy that we would have for our, I would wish a lot of our politicians would have, but it's also, and again, in reverse. So this may be someone who it kind of feels like you don't know the power that you wield quite yet. You are still waiting for others. Like you may have the pen, but you're waiting for somebody else to carry the sword. And so it just really makes me think of like, is the pen mightier than the sword, or is the sword mightier than the pen? And again, the Six of Swords, if you notice, it's the actual soldier, wherein the Queen of Swords, it is uh the warrior who is fighting, who's sort of winning or looking as if they have the upper hand because he's the king. These are his people that has cornered this person, but he's still getting away down the river. So it's like I think he definitely needs to be careful on how he moves forward and not acquiescing to what the Republicans win. Because I think if you give them an inch, they're gonna go a whole mile. And I don't think it's, and the only reason why I say is because it doesn't feel, again, our politicians are elected on behalf and for the benefit of all of us. And I don't think they have all of us in mind, if that makes sense. We also see here that the underlying energy is the star. So there's something here about not feeling hopeful. I don't, which makes me feel like things are not going to go the way we need to. And I wonder if that's also the plan of just like, we'll let the debt crash and then we'll have it go down in history that Biden was like the worst president ever because he couldn't come to the table, even though he was all on this whole agenda of like, oh, I'm the one politician who could bring both sides together. I can work with both sides. I've done this before. And he failed to raise the debt ceiling to come to the table, even though McCarthy and the Republicans were suggesting like asinine kind of like, hey, if you give up Medicare, we will give you we'll give you a little extra to the infrastructure budget. What? That doesn't make sense. Or hey, if you give up coming after guns, we'll put more money into policing or something like that, even though they already get so much as it is. They already have a balloons budget as it is. What's another thing I could think of like, oh, well, if you give up, what is something that they typically fight about? If you give up, okay, if you give up, say for instance, and I don't know if this is actually one of the things, but say if you give up actually holding these businesses accountable for being more green in their spending and lay up off of the greenwashing antics and stuff like that, we'll make sure that they spend more money into, I don't know, local governments or something like that. It's just something weird like that. And then we also do see here the Four of Wands, that there is a lot of people kind of like throwing their hats in the ring. It's too many people. It's busy. It's all over the place. Is it for the benefit of everyone or is it not? Under the hope, I think it's saying like, don't hope that they're gonna work together and on one accord in order to help the people that they were elected by. And then what is the other card under here? We have the Queen of Coins. So yeah, this definitely makes sense. It's dealing with money. Are we passing things on? Are we gonna leave? Are we gonna pass on debt to our children? Or are we gonna pass on wealth? That's essentially what it makes me think of for the underlying cards there. But before I get stuck on that, let's get into this some more. I want to see what's kind of like, I don't use these cards often. As you can see, they're pretty like mint condition. But I want to see kind of like what is the overall archetypes and energies here that is being embodied in this back and forth struggle. By the way, why I have you all here, I know it's not encouraged oftentimes to get into political conversations, but I am interested to know, who do you think is standing on the right side of history in this, of just kind of like, we're gonna hold out. I feel like this want to come out. What is this? Yeah, gossip makes sense. I'll read that in a second. Of, who do you think really has the benefit of the public, of the masses at heart, and why? And let's be friendly in the comments. Let's not get judgmental. I'm just really curious to see different perspectives on why. Okay, 1 second. I have one drop on the floor. Okay, didn't I say something about the fool earlier? Yes, that the magician comes after the fool. And so here we have gossip and fool, but both of these come up in the light attributes, they come up in the upright. And so gossip reads, awakens consideration for the feelings of honor of others, honoring trust. And then we also have the fool here, fearlessly revealing emotion, helping people laugh at absurdity and hypocrisy. And I feel like that is something that is being tapped into here with a lot of our, in the political arena, period. If you've seen, I don't care whether you like Trump or not, you cannot deny, I would say even before, yeah, before Trump, let's be honest, that a lot of our political, I would say going back as far as Reagan, um, a lot of it has been a circus act. It's been a theater. It's been a circus act. It's been a theater. Nobody is really honest about their no, they've been honest about their ambitions, but nobody is really honest about what they support and who they support and why they support certain things. If that makes sense. It's just, I want to be able to get in power. And so let's see if we can get a little bit more clarity on this. I said something about the sword and the pen, didn't I? And we have the quill, which reads, get back to the basics. The tower here. Yeah, that speaks to solid foundation, success with effort. But that makes me think of our government, our governing bodies, the quill and the tower here. I wonder if it's something dealing with the Constitution. I wonder if it's something with the Constitution. And then we have deep friendship with someone of the same sex. Not sure why that came up. But the underlying card here, oop, this isn't boding well. Disappointment in some affair. So it feels like this is not going to end well for the U.S. from what I'm getting here. Roots. I don't know why war came to mind. Probably because I'm looking at this soldier's picture. It feels like. I hope this is going to bring about some kind of war. That would suck. We also have Leo the lover. Expressive, creative, loving, playful, warm, overt, self confident, guileless, egotistical. Yep. Juicy, proud, trusting, excessive. This is a three-ring circus. That's essentially what I get. It's a three-ring circus. And then we also have conjunction empowerment, but it came up in reverse, but I'm just flipping it over at this time. Combines with enhances, strengthens, join forces, activates, intensifies, authorizes, allies with, concentrates, saturates, overrides, and overwhelms. So the fact that we have this here, maybe that is what the deep friendship, the teapot is. So oftentimes I think about how certain people in our political arena say, Nancy Pelosi, for example, a lot of people say she's a good leader, but is she really? Because she's acting as if she's one thing, but then she's playing in the hands of other people, or saying that certain people should stick around. Because I believe a few years ago, I think at least during the Obama era, she was saying stuff about like how she doesn't, it was basically like she was doing some fake stuff of she didn't like what this person stood for, but then she was friends with them or something like that. It was, some weird things like that. And I feel like a lot of the politicians are secretly friends behind closed doors, and it just kind of like get things messy or convoluted. This could also speak to kind of like having those friendship circles, those cliques or like secret, how can I say it, or secret kind of like, the only way I can explain it, like, you know how you're at school, but then you also have groups and clubs within the school, and certain people are excluded from certain things because they, like, you can't be, everybody just can't be on a sports team, like you have to work for it kind of thing. It just feels like it's kind of like cordoned and sectioned off, and we already know that that's a thing there where you have like, people say the squad and stuff. I don't know how much of a squad they really are, but they say like the squad. And then you have like, I don't think what's her name, Marjorie Taylor Greene, yeah, MTG and like Boba are friends, but they do spout a lot of like the same fanatic rhetoric, sort of. So it's just like those kinds of things. I feel like it's fake friendships, and I think somebody is gonna be guileless, and like, I don't know why that word wants to come out, and it's going to overlook something that they probably should be paying attention to, and it's going to screw people over. And with this conjunction coming up in reverse as well, with the conjunction, the Two of Wands, you also have the Tower here as well, the fourth house. It just feels like there's definitely a lot of opposition going on within our government, and I don't think they're gonna easily come to an agreement on this at all, if ever. And I think it's gonna just deteriorate and have a lot of things fall apart. You know what they say? Rome fell from within, not from the outside. And funny enough, 10th house, reputation, comes up in reverse. So I wonder if this is going to change the way that, if it hasn't already, because I feel like the reputation of the U.S. since, especially like the pandemic and a little since before then, because of the whole immigration factor, has, a lot of people on the outside has really changed the way that they looked at the U.S. And I think this whole thing is gonna, I think we're gonna drop in rank, guys, of kind of like who's, you know, the some of the most powerful countries, and I don't know if that's gonna bode well for us. So it reads career, responsibility, achievement, competence, fame, notoriety, standing, authority figures, legacy, purpose. Yeah, patriarchy, empire. I just don't think, I think this means that we're just not going to be standing on top. And who knows what that fallout is going to lead to. Because people egos and fake friendships and this power struggle that they're doing with each other, regardless of the people, the people at the bottom, the little people who are actually going to get hurt and, feel the repercussions of this, they just don't care. I think, yeah, it just feels a little bit out of touch. Did I say what the underlying energy was for? Oh, no, victim in reverse was the underlying archetype here. And so that reads playing the victim for positive feedback. Does this sound familiar to anyone? We have a lot of politicians right now playing like they're the hurt party, or they're the ones that's right, and the other party is just after them because they're picking teams or they're picking sides, and they're not really trying to be there for their people. And now I say this is from both sides. I'm not picking or choosing on either one of these. I think both of them do that. But it says playing the victim for positive feedback in the form of pity, inability to maintain personal boundaries. We also do have the hero heroine in reverse as the shadow attribute, escapism, and a false sense of heroism. Heroism. Yes, that sounds better. The fact that advocate is also the third card that comes up in reverse in a row for the archetypes, which reads embracing negative causes or committing to a causes for personal gain. I think that sums it up right there. Doing all of this for personal gain. This is not for the benefit of everyone. I don't know what the Republican or the Democratic Party is planning, what their selfish means are for this, but yeah. I also do wonder if, yeah. I'm gonna say that in reserve. I may speak about it later if I see it come up. I don't know if that's really what it is, but I do wonder what's going to come. I'll say this. I will allude to, I wonder what is going to be the religious implications of this as well. Yeah, so with that, I'm going to wrap up this reading here. I don't want to get too in depth in this because this can get a little messy and get all over the place. And, I'll get thrown off track and not understand exactly what I'm getting into the reading. But yes, essentially, this boils down to I don't think this is going to be solved easily, if at all. And I think we just need to be prepared for this fallout. I don't think we really can be prepared. I don't know how else to tell you to be prepared for this. But yeah, let's hope that I'm wrong on this, seriously, and that this can be resolved and that some kind of resolution, a positive resolution comes out of this, not just any old resolution where we're getting completely screwed over. And with that, I'm going to close out this reading. If you would like to see more videos like this, please subscribe, share this video if you care, like if you like this reading, give a thumbs down if you didn't, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye.